Good evening, everyone. This is Reddy bringing you the economics previous year questions from 2023 to 1995. This is last 28 years question papers as far as UPSC is considered. So I am making it totally all the subjects 28 years previous year questions. Please follow this so that there will be substantial progress or substantial amount of value addition to your prelims. If you are writing prelims at any point of your life, this is very important. So let's start with our economics. So what to look for the video, as usual, you are going to look for importance of particular topic. I am taking by theme wise. So what is the importance of a particular topic, scope of the subject, and I am also giving the notes of this subject at the description box. Teaching the subject through past year questions for papers and tips to solve the MCQs. So what are the tips that you have to learn in order to solve this MCQs over a period of time? That also we will learn from here. So this is the important themes in my first discussion, that is inclusive growth, 5-year plans, LPG reform, subsequently to the buffer stocks, OMSs this year, they are important. So we have discussed already until fourth question in this. Let's look at the remaining aspects of the so-called national income. I have already shared the notes. I will also give the in the description box to share these notes today. So what exactly is today's discussion? A decrease in tax to GDP of a country is going to indicate what? So the question is speaking about tax to GDP indicates, or decrease in tax to GDP indicates what? So what first thing is tax to GDP ratio. What is this tax to GDP? Always remember the term tax to GDP means to your GDP. GDP is the total value of goods and services produced by the nations over a period of time within the domestic territory of a country. A decrease in the tax to GDP. Now, what is tax to GDP? What does it mean? To your GDP, what is the contribution of tax that is being laid? Or in your total GDP, what is the tax amount that is added to GDP? So, for example, say India's tax to GDP is 20%. Now, what does it indicate? It indicates that 20% of GDP of India is contributed by taxes. So what proportion of your GDP is contributed by taxes, that is direct taxes and indirect taxes? What proportion of this GDP? So for example, if India's GDP is somewhere around 100 lakh crores, what is the portion of GDP that is contributed by tax? 20 lakh crores. So 20%, that is an example. So a decrease in tax to GDP, which means tax to GDP is decreasing. Tax ratio to GDP is decreasing. What does this mean? The contribution of tax to the GDP is decreasing. What does it indicate? Slowing economic growth rate. Obviously, when there is slow economic growth rate, always remember, because in the UPSC syllabus there is one topic. Whenever growth rate is slowing, you have to observe that there is loss of employment. Why loss of employment? Because there is poor demand. With the poor demand, industries will shut down their industries, or they will lay off the employees. As a result, loss of employment will be there. When there is loss of employment, people will not have money. If they are employees, they will be paying taxes. If they do not have money, they cannot they cannot go and consume the products. As a result, direct taxes are going to decrease, indirect taxes are going to decrease. So whenever growth rate is decreasing, what does it indicate? Whenever tax to GDP is decreasing, what does that indicate? It indicates a significant phenomena that majority of the population in the country are not having jobs. So if growth rate is falling down, what happens? Always remember, demand will fall down. Because of the demand falling down, industries will stop producing. What to produce and why to produce? Because there is no demand. Now when they stop producing, they lay off the employees. As a result, employees used to contribute direct taxes. Now that direct taxes are going to be lost to your GDP. Subsequently, when you do not have money, as you are unemployed, you don't buy the things. As a result, you don't pay indirect taxes. So tax amount to GDP is going to fall down. This is the linkage that it has. So first statement is correct. Second statement is saying less equitable distribution of national income. Equitable distribution of national income, if it is less tax to GDP. Now it has to be understood that equitable distribution of wealth or national income doesn't have any correlation with the tax to GDP. Now why? This is something which you have to understand. Now always remember, see, less equitable distribution. What happens if there is less equitable distribution of national income? national income will be concentrated in few hands, which means there will be few rich people compared to majority of the poor. Now whenever there are rich people, they will be paying high taxes, high indirect taxes. So in India, high direct taxes. In India, direct taxes is proportional in nature or progressive in nature. As a result, when they are progressive in nature, more tax has to be paid by this people because of rich people, because less equitable distribution is there. Hence, taxes has to rise in that scenario, but that is not happening. On the other hand, if there is less equitable distribution, obviously there is one more thing. There will be more number of poor people, or poor people will not have money. As a result, what happens, these people will not have money to buy. However, the buying capacity, the opportunity cost of buying is shifted from the poor to rich. I already discussed what is opportunity cost. So in that scenario, if there is concentration of wealth, opportunity cost is transferred from the poor to the rich. As a result, rich people will be paying taxes at the cost of poor people. Hence, tax, there is no connotation that tax will definitely decrease, or the amount of tax that is paid to GDP is going to decrease. That is not going to happen. Tax distribution or national income distribution is always depending on the policies. It might not affect the tax to GDP. You cannot indicate the tax to GDP is decreasing because of this. It can be constant also. So only one is correct here. So this is tax to GDP. Remember what is tax to GDP? Proportion of GDP or proportion of taxes to your GDP. Next, if the interest rate is decreased in an economy, what happens? What happens in the economy? See, very important question this year. Every year there will be one question on the interest rates. What happens if there is less interest rate? Say for example, if there is a bank called SBI, SBI earlier was giving an interest rate of 5% to the public. Now SBI said that we are going to give 3%. Say earlier it was giving 10%, not 5%, 10%. Now SBI said it is going to give 3%. If there is decrease in the interest rate, what happens? It has to be understood that whenever the interest rates are high, normally what people will do, say if this is giving 10%, people who have money, they will get initiative or incentive to go and deposit their amount in SBI. If I have 100 rupees, I'll try to invest in SBI because it is going to give me an interest of plus 10 rupees, that is 10%. Now if it is decreased to 3%, I will get just 1 or 3, not 110. As a result, what happens is people will not get incentivized to go and save in the SBI. So whenever interest rates are falling, people want to save the money. That is the first thing. Rather than saving in the bank, they will go and try to open a tea stall because it is better to produce teas and get the money rather than an interest that you are going to have. So they will pool their money into investment rather than savings. So savings will decrease, investments will increase if the interest rates are decreased. Now what happens? If the interest rates are decreased, what happens? More number of borrowers will borrow and they will invest in industries. This is another thing. So this is the thing. Depositors will not deposit. So savings are going to come down, but lenders will take more money because interest rate is falling. As a result, what happens in that under this scenario? There will be more borrowers, more credit will be given. As a result, more investments will come into the economy. That is the second thing. So decrease in the consumption expenditure in the economy. Now this cannot decrease. If interest rate is decreased, what happens in the economy? Now see, people will hold money with themselves. Here there is more number of borrowers. As a result, more money with the public. When people have more money, consumption will increase. So consumption expenditure is not going to decrease, it is going to increase. That is the thing. Increase in the tax collections of the government. You cannot absolutely say whether tax collections are going to get increased or decreased. There is probability of doubt. If people are paying the taxes, then tax collection has no relation with interest rates. That is what you have to understand. Why? If people are consuming more, they may be consuming some less tax products or more tax products. You cannot say tax collection is going to definitely increase. Increase in the investment expenditure, yes, this is going to happen. Increase in the total savings of the economy, total savings will be decreased in the economy. So rather than that, they are going to have it. So this cannot be absolutely quantified, but this is increased, this is decreased, increased, and this is decreased. That is what you have to understand. So what is the summary, guys? Always remember what interest rate will have impact on the borrowers. Interest rate have two impacts on the borrowers and on the depositors. If you are a depositor, if you are given less interest rate, deposits will come down. Deposits coming down means savings is coming down. As a result, people will have more money in their hands. Now they will spend more. Borrowers will borrow more because interest rate is less. Hence, more money in their hands, they spend more. So spending increases in the economy. So consumption expenditure increases, not decreases. So after borrowing, I will invest in the economy. This is correct. Increase in the total savings. I said it is decrease. So B has no connotation with it. This is how you have to understand the subject as far as this is considered. Next one. The national income of a country for a given period is equal to. So they are asking what is the definition of national income. What is national income, guys? National income, rather normally it is NNP at factor cost. NNP means GDP adjusted with the so-called depreciation, adjusted with net factor income abroad and adjusted with depreciation. So this is national income. Now look at the options. Normally this is the one. Otherwise, if there is no option of NNP, directly go national income is equal to GDP. What is GDP? GDP is nothing but total amount of or total money value of goods and services produced within the domestic territory of a country over a given period of time. That is the thing. Look, total value of goods and services produced by the nationals. This is what they have given. What is GDP? National income. Total value of goods and services produced by the nationals. This is not national income. Goods and services produced by the nationals. Whether that nationals is sending back the amount back to our country or not, that is important. So net factor income abroad is not calculated here. Some total consumption and investment expenditure. So they are saying C plus I, but you also have C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So sum total of C plus I plus G plus X minus M is national income. So this is wrong. Sum of personal income of all individuals. No, sum of personal incomes of all individuals is also not a national income. So money value of final goods and services produced. So what is the monetary value? This is GDP, monetary value of final goods and services produced. Right? Why statement 1 is wrong, guys? Statement 1 is wrong because say an Indian is present in USA. He might be producing, he is an Indian citizen, which means national of India. He might be producing some KFC chicken. Now this is a good that is being produced. Now this is not coming to India because this is being utilized here. So Indians producing money may be sent or may not be sent back to India. So it cannot be produced by nationals. It should be net factor income abroad is they must be sending back to the country. Hence this is wrong. So the most appropriate thing is money value of final goods and services produced. So inside the country. Economic growth in a country X will necessarily have what? So when economic growth will happen in a country? That is the question. Economic growth in a country X will happen under which conditions? Now they have given some statements. There is a technical progress in the world economy. There is a population growth in X. There is capital formation in X. The volume of trade grows in the world economy. Now look at this. Economic growth of a country happens when? That is the question. Now look, they are particularly asking a country X. So don't say it is world. So in world there are many countries. In that one country called X they are speaking. Hence there is a technical progress in the world. If there is a technical progress in world, we cannot definitely assure that there is economic growth in country X. Why? Say for example, if technical growth is in Europe and if the country X here is South Africa or African country, economic growth will not happen in Africa, but it will happen only in those countries where there is technical progress. So economic growth, technical progress in world economy is wrong. What should be it? Technical progress in the country X might lead to economic growth. So it should be specific. So for specific country, you cannot correlate answer with world economy. So A and D are wrong. The volume of trade grows in the world economy. That trade may have been contributed country X or country A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Any country might have contributed to it. So again, so when the question is specifically to a country, look for the options which are specific. In the options, they have given world economy 2 times. X and X 2 times. So answer has to be between B and C. Now economic growth happens when normally economic growth happens when there is some positivity. Economic growth is positive term. There is growth in population. Population growth is normally associated with negative connotation. There is capital formation. Yes, when there is capital formation, economic growth will happen. What is capital formation? Capital formation is building up of the infrastructure, which is the lifeline of an economy. So like this, you have this. So in the context of Indian economy, consider the following statements. They have given some statements. What is meltdown? What is the recession? What is slowdown? So what is meltdown? Economy is falling down. As a result, what happens when economy is falling? The stock market will also fall. So the term stock market, whenever it is falling, it is called meltdown. So meltdown is a term associated with the stocks or stock values. So remember this, it is related to stocks. So this is correct, fall in stock prices. Recession is fall in growth rate. It has to be understood that recession is not a fall in growth rate, it is a decline in the growth rate for two successive quarters. Two successive quarters you have to see a decline in growth, then only there will be recession. So technically recession is not fall in growth rate. Successive fall in the growth rate for two times is recession. That is what we have to understand. If there is a fall in growth rate, what you say, growth is negative, that's it. Slowdown, what is slowdown? Economy is not increasing to the expected levels. Fall in GDP is not slowdown. So what is slowdown? Slowdown is growth rate becoming slow. There is growth, but it is very slow. That is called slowdown. So meltdown is associated with the stocks. That is correct. The recession is two successive quarters low growth. Slowdown is growth rate is happening. Growth is happening, but it is growing at a very less pace than expected. Say for example, in the quarter one, you have observed 5% growth. In the quarter two, it is coming to 3% growth rate. Rate is happening, but it is at a slower pace. That is the thing that you have to understand. What is fall in GDP? Fall in GDP is negative growth. So that is the thing. Negative growth cannot be called as slowdown. That we have to understand. So what is the thing that you have to observe here? So this is the thing that we have to learn here. Normally, in basically that you will be studying in our general notebook. What exactly is this? In general notes, we will study business cycle. In the business cycle, there are few things that is called the growth phase, the progress phase, the slowdown phase. Prolonged slowdown is called depression. Like that, you have some terminology. So you have to study those things. Yesterday, I was discussing the same thing. In my class notes, you can find it. If you are interested, please have a look at it. You will observe that things recently. In the national income, I have said this. If you look at the economic cycle or the business cycle of an economy, you have these things. So growth rate. So this is growth phase. Business economic cycle. What is economic cycle, guys? Economic cycle is when you extrapolate the growth over a period of time. Growth rate expressed in time is known as economic cycle. Now if you extrapolate this here, what you will find? This is growth phase when growth is increasing. When growth is falling, this is called slowdown. If this slowdown is falling for two times, two successive quarters, there is slowdown, that is called recession. Prolonged recession is called depression. Continuous recession is called depression. Then this is recovery phase. After depression, you find recovery. Then you have growth phase. These are the phases that you will find in economic cycle. Where I have given these things very clearly in my class notes. So that is the reason why this class notes is extremely important. So the questions will not go out from here. Please have a look at it. This is growth phase. This is slowdown. Two slowdowns is recession. Then see, even when there is slowdown, GDP will be increasing. That is the thing that you have to find. GDP starts decreasing like this. Next, prolonged recession is called depression, recovery, and growth. These are the terms that we have to see. Now, there is one thing called counter-cyclic fiscal policy. This is economic policy or economic cycle. Now, countering this cycle, if you are drawing another cycle, that is called counter-cycle fiscal policy. What is fiscal policy? Fiscal policy is the policy of government. How that fiscal policy will be? It will be countering the economic cycle. So, economic cycle is natural cycle. So if you are countering that economic cycle with your own policy, then that is called as counter-cyclic fiscal policy, right? These are the things that you have. So please have a look and understand what we have written in our class notes. That is going to help you substantially. So this is a thing that we have as far as fiscal policy is considered. So subsequently, these are the things. So what is the summary here, guys? So again, this is the second topic that I have taken. The second topic is discussing about the so-called national income. So concepts of national income, please be thorough that they are going to ask a question here, and then that they will link with economic cycle. Growth is important. Now what happens to interest rate decreasing? These things is important. So these are the things that you have. Tomorrow we are going to look at the next aspect, that is called public finance. What exactly is public finance and associated questions in public finance. So thanks for joining, guys. So please share this to those students who are interested so that it will be helpful for everyone. Right? We'll see you soon. Take care.